Wilkins with Nutritionalizing Cancer. Most people don't have any idea what the information on a nutrition label means. I was one of them, I'll admit it. I had no clue. But in the process of educating myself, I learned a lot about how to read these labels. And I'm going to take some time to give that information to you. Hopefully this will be very helpful. Stick with me to the end and you'll feel a lot more comfortable about what you read on the packages that you select. I'm a 2-time cancer survivor and a plant-based chef. When I was diagnosed with cancer the second time, I realized that I needed to do something different because obviously what I was doing wasn't working. So I started looking outside of the medical community for something that I could do to improve my chances. And that's when I came upon nutrition. There seemed to be a pretty high correlation between cancer survivors and really good plant-based nutrition. I made the transition to a plant-based diet, and here I sit 6 years later, cancer-free. Every time I go for a checkup, I come out smiling because my numbers were good, my MRI is clean, and they always have good news to tell me. And I'm confident that it will stay that way because of the lifestyle changes that I made. My contact information is up here on the screen. Feel free to contact us at our website, on our YouTube channel, or even send me an email if you like. Today we're going to talk a little bit about reading nutrition labels and specifically macronutrients and how they play into that picture. The macronutrients, when you read a label, are carbohydrates, fats, and protein. So when you're reading a food label, the first thing you're going to see is serving size. That's up at the top. This label is divided into 5 sections so you can kind of understand how these all fit together. The next thing you're going to look at is the amount of calories in that particular item. The third section is where they talk about the nutrients you should limit. The fourth section, you want to make sure you get enough of those nutrients. And then the last section is the footnote section where daily values or daily value percents are calculated based on what is allowable regarding the type of diet that you're on, whether it's 2,000 calorie or 2,500 calorie. So let's look at serving size first. If we look at that, you can see here on the label it says there's 1 cup in this product and the serving sizes are 2. So you want to ask yourself at that point, how much of this am I going to consume? Am I going to consume half a serving, 1 serving, or am I going to eat the whole container? If I eat the whole container, then everything doubles in terms of the values, especially over here on this label. So when you look at things like total fat, that would be 24 grams instead of 12. So be aware of that when you look at serving size. Food labels and macronutrients. The first one, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the main source of fuel for the body. They're one of 3 essential macronutrients. And they can be found primarily in fruits, vegetables, dairy products, that kind of thing. When you look at carbohydrate, according to the National Institute of Health, we should get between 45 and 65% of our total calories from carbohydrates. If you calculate that out on a 2,000 calorie diet, we should ingest about 225 to 325 grams of carbohydrate. Now, if you look at the label here on the right, total carbohydrate, 55 grams. Now that seems like a lot, but the daily value or the daily allowance for that is 300 grams. When you divide 300 into 55, it comes out to 18%. So it's really not a great deal of carbohydrates. but it is about 1/5 of what your allowance is for the day. So that's why looking at the labels, you want to be able to use this information because it's very helpful in determining what you have left in terms of the amount of that nutrient you're able to consume. Sugar alcohols are found in a variety of products, and they're considered to be both sugar and alcohol. But again, they're found naturally in fruits and vegetables as well. Starches then are glucose molecules linked together, and they occur naturally in beans, grains, and vegetables. Dietary fiber is a complex carbohydrate, and that's not digested or absorbed in the small intestine. The fiber actually slows down the digestion of carbohydrates that are in these fibrous products. And you can find a lot of fiber in things like nuts and seeds, vegetables, some fruits, that type of thing, whole grain foods. There are a lot of good complex carbohydrates out there. And these are good to eat from a health standpoint because simple sugars cause spikes in the blood sugar, and that over a repeated basis over time is not good for anybody. It can lead to health problems and other sorts of things. So when you eat carbohydrates, you should eat nutrient-dense, complex carbohydrates, which again are your whole grains, fruits, vegetables, that types of things. Next thing, macronutrients, fats. So let's look at fats. It takes more energy to burn fat. It takes about 9 calories per gram. So that's a little bit more than what it takes for protein or carbohydrates. Remember here that when you look at your labels, you have to keep in mind the number of servings. So the calories from fat here are 110. If we ate both servings here, if we ate the whole thing, the calories would be 220. The percent daily value here is to divide the fat calories by the total number allowed for that diet for the day, which is 65, and that's how you come up with the 18%. A good rule of thumb for fats is to remember that less than or equal to 5% is low, and greater than or equal to 20% is high in terms of that serving. So when you look at this one, we're pretty close to being on the high end, but it's still within the range. Protein. So you want to limit your protein to about 10% of the daily calories. So if you're on a 2,000 calorie diet, that's about 200 grams. An average standard American diet, so an average American consumes about 17% protein, and that's way too high. And along with that, you can pretty much assume that most of that's from meat or that type of thing. So there's other issues that come into play as far as that's concerned. Remember that protein helps us maintain and build body tissue and muscle. It uses the amino acids to do that. Excessive consumption of protein on this standard American diet, where most people are at 17%, actually by rule excludes something else. So if you're eating a lot of one thing, you're excluding something else that might be healthier for you. So that's something else you need to be concerned about as well. If you look at this label, you can see here that protein is listed at 5 grams. So if you divide that out and calculate the daily value like we've been doing, that comes out to about 2.5%. So there's a lot of room for improvement with this product. Remember too that there's protein in all the plants, fruits, and vegetables that you take in. So if you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables and you're eating a lot of meat on top of that, you're really up in that protein level quite a bit. Good idea to look at what you're taking in your diet and calculate that out over several days or a week or two and see what you're actually doing. So the things that we went over in this video are reading labels, specifically macronutrients, and those were carbohydrates, fats, and protein. As always, if you like this stuff, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can go to our website and get information from the blog, as well as you can contact me at nutritionalizingcancer.com or at nutritionalizingcancer@gmail.com. And as I always say, eat healthy. Thanks for watching.